Police and Fire Commission meeting, recorded April 5, 2023.
Okay, I have 2 o'clock. It's time to call to order the Police and Fire Commission meeting of April 1st, 2023. We will start with agenda item number 1, which is the roll call. Candy, please call the roll.
Kershling?
Here.
Moore?
Here.
Rosick? Here. Ostrowski?
Here.
Zenner?
Here.
Okay, I'd like to take just a second and introduce everyone to our newest member. If you don't know who he is, it's Mr. Tom Zenner. He might look a little familiar to you, except for the street clothes.
That's it.
Welcome aboard, Tom. Look forward to working with you. And with that, we're going to move on to agenda item number 2, which is the approval of minutes. I'm sure you've all received those in your packet. Take a second if you need, and look them over again. Anyone would like to make a motion?
I'll make a motion, Morozic, to approval of minutes.
Okay, as presented. Do we have a second?
Second.
Second by Kershling. Questions or comments? Questions or comments? Seeing none, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, motion carries. And we are moving on to agenda item number 3. Mr. Ostrowski, it is the confirmation of bills.
Yes, sir, Mr. President. Having reviewed them on your request, let's see here. I'm going to take I'd like to take the ambulance one first. Nothing unusual or different. Just to let people know that you got to take, for the new commissioner's sake, a reminder that you got to take the present month's bills and add them to the running total to get to date. And with that, the ambulance service is used up about 63% of their budget. They got about 37% left, so they got some tricky ground for
A little ahead of schedule.
yeah. The police department, looking at everything, but the only thing I'd like to note it for the record is the installation of the new carpeting in the patrol reports room. They tell me the last carpeting was brought over by a guy named Christopher Columbus or something, and it needed to be replaced. To let you know, they're running fine on their budget. They're running, when you add it all together, they're about 18% of their budget only used up to date. And lastly, going to my friends over at the fire department, nothing unusual to report other than I would like the chief to address the last item on the monthly bills, AED essentials for 3 defibrillators, an expense of $24,990. Chief, if you could give us an explanation.
Sure, not a problem. We treated a patient with the quality of care that is standard here in the city of Stevens Point and the Stevens Point Fire Department, which is above and beyond. This citizen recognized this and after being treated, wanted to make a donation to the department. They wish to stay anonymous at this time. But what they did do is they provided us the ability to purchase 3 new LS monitors that have been placed and are already in service on our engine, our tower out at Station 2, and one of our command vehicles at Station 1. This allows our fire apparatuses to run separate from our ambulances, being able to treat our community members as a paramedic level service without that ambulance arriving on scene yet. Obviously, that ambulance would still be en route and would be doing the transport back to the hospital, but the paramedics that are assigned to those fire apparatuses now will not only have the medications and the abilities, but have the monitors and the electrical capabilities to restart the heart, pace, or cardiovert the heart as well. So this is a big step forward for the city of Stevens Point and the fire department. So much so that we are going to recognize this and take it one step further. We're going to be putting paramedic on the side of our apparatuses as well, because they truly are paramedic apparatuses now with this donation.
And with that also, that provides treatment for the firefighters themselves if something happens.
Correct.
So it's a double duty. Thank you, Chief. I wanted to get that out for the public's notice. I don't know what that was. The only thing I will note before I make a motion is that unfortunately with that, fire department's used about 55% of their budget, but since this will be covered by some donation, we're really not in that bad a shape. And with that, I would make a motion to confirm the bills as submitted.
Okay, we have a motion for Mr. Ostrowski. Do we have a second?
I just have a question.
We'll need a second before we go on to the
I can give a
question.
second.
second.
We have a second. Denise?
Just a question in regards to pest control. Is that just preventative, or do we have issues at Station 1 and Station 2?
Right now, it's preventative. There have been issues in the past, but we have found if we don't stay up on the preventative measures, we end up having problems.
Okay.
But as of right now, with the preventative measures we are taking, we are okay.
And then for the Grand Rapids Fire Department, I'm assuming that's registration for Ewing and Zavara.
Correct.
Can you explain what that is exactly?
So that is for EV automotive training.
Okay.
So it's the new electrical cars that we have out there running around in the community. And what we're doing is we're sending individuals to that training to be able to bring that education back into our department and be able to do more of a train the trainer aspect on how to respond to these EV car fires in the future.
There's quite a difference in how to deal with those than a normal fire, correct?
Correct, there are. And so we've realized that right now there's not a lot of those cars on the road in this area, but we want to stay, at the tip of the spear. We want to stay on top of things. And with that training being offered here very close to our, back door, we want to be able to attend that.
And
More questions, Commissioner?
not necessarily a question, but one of the things I was just talking with Chief Cuso, and he's in agreement to it, that seeing that there's a lot of office supplies, this month and stuff, and I just said, have we recently, and he said it's been, probably years since we've looked at just making sure we're saying the costs are competitive, with other companies that offer it. So I think that would kind of be a good time now is to just take a look, just make sure that,
Comparison shopping?
Yeah, comparison shopping, I think it's a good idea, especially, now we're always talking about budgets and stuff like that, and if we haven't done it in several years, that would be something that I would like to see.
And last year, with recognizing that fact that we took a 0% increase in our operational budget and having to sign these contracts for long-term, a year, 2 or 3 years out, we've definitely been doing some comparison shopping to see what is actually being offered in those contracts and where's the best bang for the buck.
Okay. All right.
Anything else? Okay. Any other questions or comments about the monthly budgets? Okay, we have a motion and a second on the floor to approve them as presented. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, motion carries. Moving on to agenda item number 4, which is the police chief's report. Chief Cuso.
Yes, thank you. Welcome, Commissioner Zenner.
Thank you. Whoever you are.
Couple things. March was pretty busy for Lieutenant Johnson. Besides overseeing the crossing guards, he oversees the cadet programs at the schools. He hosted a couple pizza parties for them as well, for them participating in this program. Lieutenant Eitenbrook and Assistant Chief Williams attended a incident command course, 300 course, for large-scale events at the Portage County Sheriff's Office. Obviously preparing for our U.S. Open that's coming to town. We had a meeting. Assistant Chief Williams has kind of been overseeing implementing a new scheduling program that'll actually be online. And we had a meeting and a training for all the lieutenants and supervisors on that program. So that should be coming out shortly and implementing that program. And obviously, you all know on March 5th, we had to deal with an individual who lost his life on the river. Lieutenant Johnson kind of took the role on communicating with the families, and while he was doing that, Eric Duffy, who's an individual who passed away approximately 11 years ago. Their family reached out to Lieutenant Johnson and wanted to kind of get together and have a meeting to come up with some suggestions or ideas on what we can do down in that area so that it doesn't happen again. Obviously, it's two deaths in 11 years is too many. And so on March 30th, A.C. Williams, the mayor, myself, Lieutenant Johnson, Director Kramer from the Parks Department, Lieutenant James from UWSP, the UWSP Director of Center of Prevention, Superintendent Scott Halverson from Parks, and the Duffy family all met here. It was a very, very good conversation. They came up with some very good, simple ideas that the city could implement. And so we're working with the Parks Department in the city to hopefully implement some of the ideas that the Duffy's family had to try to prevent this from happening again.
Chief, can you provide some of those ideas?
Yeah, some of them were, so in the winter, the city actually turns their lights off along that walkway in the park. One of their suggestions was to actually keep the lights on year-round, kind of making a lighted path so individuals have to go into the darkness in order to get onto the river. Another idea was simply plowing that path, and when they plow it, to angle the blade towards the river. So besides having the black trail there, if somebody had to go across that path, they'd have to actually crawl over a snowbank basically to get to the river. And so those are just a couple ideas that would be very easily implemented, and so we're doing our part to do something. The other things that came up is the city's actually looking at an erosion issue along the shoreline, and it's scheduled to be implemented in about 5 years, but we're looking at the city to actually coming up and developing something earlier than 5 years from now, and in that process coming up with something that might work as a barrier to the river. And so those were some of the ideas that came across. The Duffy family was really, really adamant about keeping the lights on and plowing that. And so I think that's something that we encouraged the city to do it. So did the Parks Director. The Parks Director would actually be the one plowing that. By leaving the lights on, it helps law enforcement. In the winter, officers will drive by there and they have to spotlight in order to see anybody in the parks after 11 o'clock. With the lights on, that'll help them out. All summer long, officers can actually take their patrol car down that path after 11 o'clock. And this way, if it is plowed in the winter, they can do the same thing. So patrol will be easier as well. And so that was just some of the ideas that the Duffy family came up with.
Very good, thank you.
On the 30th, the Department of Revenue had gotten a hold of us regarding the Icon Tavern downtown and some of the issues that they've received lately about selling things without a license, and so on and so forth. So Assistant Chief Williams worked with the Department of Revenue along with Lieutenant Mueller, and they ended up going to Icon on the 30th and did a random bar check. It ended up resulting in 7 violations. Things like 25 bottles of booze had bugs in them. There was no licensed bartender on premise. Some of the alcohol that was delivered there didn't have labels on, and in order to meet code, you have to have a label of where they came from and where they're supposed to go. And that's just a few of them that they found. And the other thing that I'm actually excited about is the welfare checks. We've talked about welfare checks here. We had 87 last month. And sometimes welfare checks, they definitely have to have 2 officers that respond because, again, you don't know what the crisis is. But some of those lead into Chapter 51s where it's a mental health crisis. And if they don't want to get help, we actually force them to get help. And by doing that, sometimes we have officers that actually sit at the hospital, 2 of them, it's been up to 18 hours waiting for placement, waiting for medical clearance. The county, which I explained to you before, had reached out for a grant for Ready Transport, and we signed an MOU with Ready Transport. And April 1st, that began. Again, that's not March, but April 1st, that began. So now, after an officer gets to the hospital, if a Chapter 51 is approved through Green Bay Crisis, what we do is we call Ready Transport. and they will actually respond. It'll take about an hour to 2 hours for them to get here, but once they get here, we can actually leave the hospital. They will fill in the paperwork on where the individual is going to be going to, which hospital, and they will sit while they get medically cleared. They will sit the entire time with them, and then they will transport them to the facility. And so we're going to keep track of that for the next 2 years, and hopefully it'll save. I think we spent 439 hours of overtime on those in 11 months last year, and so we're hoping that'll save quite a bit of money as well.
Will they come back for court cases? Or like any involvement in that if they have to?
If they have to, but there shouldn't be any reason for them to come back for court cases.
Chief, just for the record too, then they will transport the people back when their time is up.
Correct. They'll transport them back for court. They'll transport them back for anything that we need. Correct. And on the 11th of March, we had an overdose at O'Connell Lodge, and the officers that responded performed CPR and provided Narcan to the individual until paramedics and the fire department were able to get there. That individual did survive, and it was Officer Ross Wiersba and Lead Officer Joseph Clark, and they were both issued a life-saving award for their efforts on that individual. And that is about it for the police chief's report.
Thank you, Chief. Is there any questions for the chief?
I got a couple. Having the Wisconsin Department of Revenue, that sounds like this has been identified as a higher concern than normal. Is that a local owner at Icon Bar?
I believe the owner lives in Wausau, Marathon County.
Okay. Have we had prior contacts with him as a department?
As a department, we have had prior contacts. We did a bar check within the last month and a half, and we ended up getting 4 underagers out of there. And the last place that Cole Peterson, the individual who passed away in the river, the last place that he actually attended or was in was Icon.
Okay. The other question I had is we had Assistant Chief Williams and Lieutenant Eitenbrook attend the ICES 300 training. Does this have anything to do, I'm assuming, with the U.S. Open?
Yes.
And are we taking a lead on that, or have we secured emergency management from the city, or how is that being planned?
We have not secured from the city. Currently, the emergency manager of the city is an individual who is the director of the airport. There's a long story behind that. But what we're working on now is with the fire department to actually get the emergency management position over to the fire department, where it probably should have been. Our emergency management for the PD, Lieutenant Ben Brooks covered that. So we have emergency plans for anything that happens up at the U.S. Open or Century. For the city emergency management, we have not received anything from them after several requests on getting a plan on what would happen if a tornado came through, or we have 35,000 people that need housing or food or warmth or air conditioning. But we have not received anything at this point from them for that. But the private event itself is covered by our police department.
And the fire department would be an excellent home for emergency management.
And we're looking forward to that.
I have nothing else.
I have a question.
Okay, Commissioner.
So because now these are all, open for the public for viewing and goes on record, I have a question in regards on the last page. So we have an incident, Ben Franklin, and what really got brought to my attention is that last sentence. That includes one of these students are now attending a different school, and the other is being checked for weapons when they arrive at school for the remainder of the school year. Because this has been really hit the news as far as these kind of issues with gun violence in schools, and it might not be something that you can readily answer right now, but recalling a recent incident, not here, but that hit the national news. So checking the student at school, I mean, do we have more than just checking them? I mean, is this, where is this check happening? Are there parent involvement? have we gone out and looked for, or have a plan in place, like weapons in the home, is the child in therapy? I think that because we have this out here, we somehow need to be able to address to our community and, parents versus just, we're checking, right? What does that mean?
Obviously, the parents have been notified, all the counselors at the schools have been notified, the school itself has been notified. What they try to do is they take the individual out of the environment that they believe might be causing this. And when we say about checking for weapons, when they walk into the school, at that point, the school district can actually check bags, they can pat people down, they can do whatever they want to feel safe, and so that is what's taking place.
And our liaison with the schools, so it's not a teacher that's patting them down, it's law enforcement, correct?
The law enforcement officer patting them down, but checking the bag is probably most done by the school.
Chief Christoph, just a question for you, and you probably don't have an answer. I recently learned about some film that you can put over the glass, which makes pretty hard to get through. And after seeing the scenes in Nashville where they fired the glass and they never did break it, have we ever looked into that type of stuff for say the first floors of our buildings or at the doors?
For our building here, we actually have that on this building.
How about
on every door?
Schools have looked into that?
I do not know if the schools looked into that.
Because it's expensive. It isn't all that bad.
Yeah.
I know of a school in Wausau that recently did it, and it's quite something.
Yeah, and Lieutenant Johnson actually oversees a lot of the issues when it comes to rapid response. And I know he's reached out to a couple schools, especially after the Nashville incident, to ask questions about why an individual can get into the foyer area instead of keeping them outside and then bringing them in and stuff like that. So again, he's on top of it as well and contacting schools to make sure that they're safe. I don't know about that film that they used, but we did actually put that on all the doors here at the Stevens Point PD when we moved into this building.
I was quite impressed with it when I saw it up in a school in Wausau. And I thought to myself, that's something fairly simple, at least, on the doors. Because as I drive around, I looked at a lot of the schools, and a lot of our schools are glass doors.
Mm-hmm.
Well, there's your first start, so if you can deter that, that would be something. Thank you very much.
Yep.
Anyone else have any further questions for the chief? I just have one. If we can start having monthly updates on the PGA, it seems it's getting closer. I think the public, the more information we have, the better it will be.
Absolutely.
For everyone. And with that, I'll make the motion to accept the report and place it on file. We have a second?
I'll do a second.
Second by Zenner. Any further questions, comments? Anyone? Seeing none, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, hearing none, motion carries. Moving on to agenda item number 5, which is Fire Chief's report. Chief.
So we've implemented a new purchasing plan for all fire department apparatuses through 2044. We've sat down and figured everything out. With that, we have taken delivery of truck 22 as of March 6th. They are currently out doing training on it today as we speak. And that apparatus is potentially going to go in service at Station 2 to serve the community starting next week, April 14th. With that, we also received approval from the council to move forward with the purchase of a new fire apparatus, Engine 4, which we are hoping to sign the contract on that by April 14th as well. The committee is working diligently with Pierce Manufacturing to make sure the specs and everything is exactly the way we want it. And hopefully we will have that contract signed by the end of next week as well, so that can go to build.
Arrival on that would be in 2024 sometime? 25?
Arrival on that apparatus will probably be at this point, if we get under the BMP program, which is called the Build My Pierce program, which basically allows no specialty bells and whistles, we're looking 36 to 40 months out, so about 3.5 years out. And if we were looking at a tower, which would be the next purchase after that, I was just informed that we are about 4 to 4.5 years out after we sign the contract on that apparatus. So,
An engine would be a pumper?
Yes.
What I refer to it?
correct.
And how does that set in our schedule for replacements?
So that would get us back on track for a 5-year rotation. Every 5 years, we would purchase an engine or a aerial apparatus. That would leave those apparatuses as a primary apparatus for 10 years, a reserve apparatus for 10 years, and then the city is going to try to sell those apparatuses between the 20 and 25-year mark to hopefully bring some revenue back to the city instead of sitting on them till the 30-year mark and selling them for scrap prices.
This one that we're taking possession of, truck 22, what is it replacing?
That is replacing the American LaFrance Truck 3. And it has currently been stripped and is at City Garage as we speak, and that is going to go on the Wisconsin surplus site soon.
And LaFrance came over from World War I, just about.
So it's seen about 23 years of service, but it's well past its time to move on. Also, we received a donation from Quick Trip for $3,000. We have put that towards our MSA 4 gas meters. Basically, this allowed us to purchase a new gas meter, bump station, and additional gas for Station 2. So we have one now at each station, allowing our stations to separately respond to gas calls within their districts. Stevens Point Fire Department hosted a traffic incident management enhancement program for 3 days with the state DOT and State Patrol. We also had about half of our paramedics complete their National Registry renewal, which was due March 30th or 31st of this last month. The other half will be due for refresher next year. We had a member, firefighter medic Tim Ewers, who taught some hands-only CPR, first aid, and now Narcan use to staff at the university. That is a big thing that we're adding on, that Narcan use to that hands-only CPR and first aid. We've also been involved with the SPASH Career Fair. The Stevens Point Fire Department participated in the Stevens Point area senior high school career fair. Students got to interact with the Stevens Point Fire Department and see what a career would be like with fire and EMS if they had that passion. And I just want to thank the members who went and did that. BC Kodrowski, firefighter paramedic Keshnik, Mosley, and Hanoyas. They went above and beyond with that. We really appreciate it. We've also been finding that going out and doing these career fairs at the high school level are not potentially where we want to be. We potentially want to be in the grade schools as well. We have found that the 6th to 8th grade or 7th to 9th graders in the area, before they even get to the high school, are already making decisions on their careers and are already setting a path when they get to high school. So we're also looking at getting into the junior highs as well, and our Explorer program keeping that very strong within the department. So we're moving forward with that.
Chief, on that university with the Narcan, has this campus started to put Narcan dispensers on campus like some of them have?
So they're working on not only that, but as of recently, our mayor is also working on having epinephrine injections, the audible injectors, inside the AED compartments as well. So now when you go to where there's an AED mounted on a wall, there may be Narcan canisters in that AED compartment, and now auto injectors for epi as well. And those will be, they will have stickers on the outsides of those AED compartments, and it'll tell you that that stuff is inside that cabinet.
Thank you.
I have a question in regards to, and I know definitely, and it's commended on both departments, the fire and police, that your presence, just with students at SPASH, breakfasts, lunches, and you have it as outreach. Is it just more or less just to make a presence? I guess kind of what have you seen has been, the positive takeaway from that? Is it getting people students interested in the career? Is it just more comfortable with, both presence?
It's everything. So we start with letting them know that we're there, and when we do arrive, that they feel more comfortable with us, just like they do with the law enforcement side. They have law enforcement obviously on site inside these buildings. They don't see fire and EMS. We want to go out there and make sure that they know we're just as friendly as law enforcement is out there. We can be trusted and are also, a part of that networking system. Also, we are trying to get out into the schools and show them what the career is really about, and hopefully try to onboard additional people. We've had a lot of people ask questions once we're there, and we're able to guide them in the right direction and maybe correct some of the things that were not really true, and help them out and understand what fire and EMS is really about.
Would you be looking to extend this activity into the Boys and Girls Club, like into the summertime, or what will be, some thoughts?
So
on that?
we do go to the Boys and Girls Club already.
Okay.
And we are involved with them. We do presentations. We will come over and do other things with them, and we've been doing that for many years.
Awesome.
Chief, I have a question about the AEDs throughout the city. Are they standardized so that they're all the same brand, or they have the same operational characteristics so that training for one covers all of them?
So they may not be all the same brand, but operationally they're all going to basically operate the same. Their operating systems are the same. Any of them, if you open them up, they're going to have pictures on it, and basically the best thing to do is just hit the on button, and no matter what system it is, it'll walk you through the process. It'll say connect electrodes, it'll say expose the chest, it'll say start CPR, it'll say call 911. It'll walk you through the process of being able to provide the quality and care that we're looking for from the everyday person before EMS arrives.
So even if they don't look alike, they're standardized to the point where it will walk you through it, and so people shouldn't be afraid that it's a different contraption than they're used to, than they've been trained on.
Correct. They should never be afraid of that. It's simply pull it out, push the on button, and just listen to what it has to say. It'll walk you through the process. And if anybody out there is listening right now, and if they are concerned about it or don't understand the operating procedures of maybe the AED in their organization, they can always reach out to us, and we would be more than willing to provide a hands-only CPR AED course for them.
Thank you.
When we're doing fire inspections, are those things now, if you notice one on premise, do you guys automatically take a look at them?
Yep. So we are, when we're out doing inspections, we are checking them, and then also we are putting them in our PIPs, our pre-incident plans, so that if we get called with our new CAD systems, if we get called to a location and we know that potentially someone's down and law enforcement isn't there yet, because they're usually ahead of us with their rapid response, and an AED is present at the building, we will direct them where that AED is to put that on them and start CPR and potentially provide a shock.
Those AEDs have an expiration date on them?
The batteries and the pads do have expirations on them, but they are, I I think a battery is like 5 years, and I believe the AED pads are 2 years. But we can also, if you contact us or reach out, we can provide you, replacements or get you going in the right direction for purchase of replacements.
Very good. Any more in your report?
No.
Yes, Chief.
I just want to add one thing. Commissioner Ostrowski, you were asking about the schools and if they have that film on. Your answer, Spash, Ben, and PJs all have the film on the doors and windows, and they've had it for at least 5 years, at least 5+ years.
I would hope it would lead to the rest of the schools,
So-
public and private.
Okay.
Kerschling make a motion to accept the fire chief's report and place it on file.
Second on that.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Any further questions or comments? Thank you for the information, Chief. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, motion carries. Agenda item number 6, discussion with possible action to hire new firefighter paramedic candidates after running an entry-level firefighter paramedic interview process. Chief.
So this past week, we did another interview process for our entry-level firefighter paramedics. And I would like to move forward with the hiring process of 3 new firefighter paramedic candidates after running this process. And I'm just looking for the approval from the commission to move forward with candidates Dylan Hurlis, Justin Peppard, and Madeline Avery as new entry-level firefighter paramedics within our organization.
What's that second name again?
Justin Peppard, Peppard.
And what was Madeline's last name?
Avery.
I'll make a motion to approve that.
Kerschling, second.
Questions or comments from the commission?
Got one question. You are funded for 45, you're staffed at 41. That's 4, but we're hiring 3. This is probably covered already, but I'm new to the game, so why are we only hiring 3?
Because I did not have a 4th qualified candidate worth offering a conditional offer of employment to. So with the process of hiring these 3 new candidates, if all 3 accept the conditional offer, tentatively our Academy Class 2301 would start May 15th. And then at that point, we would be 1 position short within the Stevens Point Fire Department.
Where were we last year at this time?
Right.
Last year at this time, we were 16
Yeah.
positions down.
That's pretty incredible to be
Right.
able to
And-
fill that many positions.
We, as you will see next in the annual report, we hired 12 last year. We've already hired 4 more at the beginning of this year, and we are going to hire 3 more. So when you take the 12 plus the additional 7, you're at 19. So in the last year, we've hired 19 new personnel within the City of Stevens Point Fire Department of a house of 45. So half of our staff has got a year to 2 in seniority in our department service.
Yeah.
I think this is really impressive based on last night's report too, because City of Marshfield was looking to add 9 to the fire department EMTs.
Yeah.
Correct.
Unfortunately, the funding for it got turned down. So there's other departments going through this too.
Yes.
So we have a motion and a second on the floor. Do we have further comments or questions?
And typically, is it like 3 that most fire stations hire within a year, and you've had 16 to 19?
Correct.
It's just
The normal,
gets
normally, yes, we.
Tom up to board here to.
We hire somewhere between, 1 and 3 candidates a year. We've gone years where we've never hired a candidate. We've gone 5 years without hiring a candidate. This year just happens to be the exception, and we've hired several candidates this past year. We are a very young department, but being young, I look forward to the opportunity. I've talked to all 3 crews. We've had company officer and chief officer meetings. We're getting back to the basics, And when I say getting back to the basics, everybody's coming out of school with the certifications. We're going to teach them to be at the tip of the spear. We're going to teach them how to have good bedside manner and to be good paramedics and to know how to fight fire besides just putting the wet stuff on the red stuff, how to actually throw ladders and how to interpret the fire and the smoke and how to move to what's next. So I'm looking forward to an eager group of people and a very successful department in the future.
Very good. Any further questions or comments? Okay, we have a motion and a second to accept the report or to accept the firefighter paramedics. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Hearing none, motion carries. Agenda item number 7. You have in front of you the 2022 annual report from the City Fire Department. Chief, highlights.
Highlights. We're gonna do the highlights. I think we start with as simple as our administrative staff and the 3 crews. As you can see, we've onboarded several new people this year. We continue to focus on our mission statement and vision within the City of Stevens Point Fire Department and what those things are. I think it's important that our community understands that we're here to be community servants. And, you know, how do we do that? We do that through the training, the education, and the risk reduction. We stand by our core values, and we really, truly believe in them. It's the price in doing business in the Stevens Point Fire Department. And why I say price is because that's our acronym. It's professionalism, respect, integrity, compassion, and excellence in all we do. Our organizational chart has changed this past year. As many of you know, we restructured our department in 2022. As we just got done talking about, you can go through how many retirements, resignations, promotions, and new personnel we have brought on within the Stevens Point Fire Department. Call volume, again, is up. It continues to rise, not only on the fire or on the EMS side, but the fire side as well. Truck 22, we just are going to be putting into service this next week. Some of the big, another big thing I'd like to point out is our new canines at the Stevens Point Fire Department, our therapy dogs. Our technical rescue aspects, we are completely changing how we respond to technical rescue calls. And everything used to be in our squad, and now we're becoming very trailer focused. So we have specific trailers for water and swift water, ice water rescue, trailer for technical rescue, whether it's collapse or trench. And then we are going to keep all of our ropes and confined space on our squad for different deployment uses. And then we also just got a trailer for fire investigations as well. The training division continues to grow along with the training site. We have just talked about in June, we will be taking delivery of our brand new 3-story burn facility. We are working with the engineers right now to figure out what type of foundation we need to have poured out at the site when we take delivery of that new building. And Vivian, one of our new training mannequins, will go great in Station 3 when that's built in 24-25 down at the training center in our new state-of-the-art simulation lab. Our pub ed continues to grow. We keep doing additional things. We've been able to now get back into the school systems after COVID. We've been able to have station tours. We've got Explorers back up and running. We've been doing youth kids safety days. Another big thing we did in our department is we've implemented a new awards program. At the end of every year, we recognize our personnel now internally. We take 3 days in the month of December and we recognize everyone on that crew that received any awards throughout the year. And then we also bring in any civilians who participated in any critical emergency services operations and recognize them as well. We also do other things to recognize people throughout the year, but it has been, I've seen to be very beneficial to have that awards recognition program up and running within our organization. The grant program. I can't say enough about our personnel who have been writing our grants. This year we received a grant for $250,000 for our new self-contained breathing apparatuses. We received another grant for all of our water rescue equipment, over $30,000 for that grant. We got a new DNR grant, and we're in the process of writing a new FEMA grant for about $50,000. Without these people and personnel being willing to write these grants, we wouldn't be able to truly have the operational equipment that we have within the department. So they have gone above and beyond the expectations that I have to make sure the department's moving forward. And with that, I, again, would like to open it up to any questions that the commissioners may have. And again, just thank the community for their support as we move forward with everything in the Stevens Point Fire Department.
Thank you, Chief. Can you just tell the public how they can view this report?
So this report is going to be put online through the city website. They'll be able to find the Fire and EMS Department and be able to look under annual reports, and it'll be there hopefully by the end of this week. If not, it'll be there next week.
Thank you. Any other questions, comments? Anyone in the audience? No?
We need a motion to accept this.
Sure, why not?
Kirschling make a motion to accept the 2022 annual report for the Stevens Point Fire Department.
I'll second that.
Okay, we have a second from Mr. Zenner. Any further questions or comments? Hearing none, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, motion carries.
Good job on this.
Moving on to item number 8, which is Chief has one more point.
2 points.
Go ahead.
I apologize. Commissioner Kirschling just kind of, nudged over and said, good job on this. And I really want to point out, it was the members of this department that put this together. You'll see as you go through this, they write on their programs and what they've done throughout the year. And our new administrative assistant, Karen Baxter, has truly stepped up and done a lot to make this happen. So it's not the chief doing this. This is the men and women of the Stevens Point Fire Department that truly put this annual report together. I'm just one person in the big picture of the scheme. So, but I just want to make sure they're recognized as well.
We thank them for their hard work.
Second, I know you had addressed Chief about having a representative here from the PD to talk on behalf of the PGA starting next month.
Yes, please.
Would you like a representative from the fire and EMS service as well?
Please.
Okay. Just want to make sure that way those two individuals can coordinate on what they're going to bring forward to the PFC, and they're here to answer any of those questions.
Very good. Anything else? All right. We are adjourned. Thank you.
A video of this meeting is available for viewing on the city's website, stevenspoint.com/videos.